Good afternoon, dear Chabura. Cruising through Kol HaTorah Kol, the entire Torah Shabbat Peh with a Rambam in our lead, one Perek a day, and we are going to begin Perek Beis of Hilchos Brachos, which is going to zero into the bracha, the series of brachas d'oraisa, which, as we said, biblically, the only chiyuv is the after bracha, following a suda when a person is satiated, where it says v'chalta v'savata, when you eat and you're satiated, you're full. Now, in Birkas Hamazon, there are four brachas. We're going to see that the first two, or maybe even the third, are biblical, and the fourth one came later, and its ramifications. Let's see it inside. Zokt the Rambam Perek Beis Halacha Aleph Seder Birkas Hamazon Kachi. The order of the brachas is the following: Birkas Hazon, the first one we thank the Eibishter for satiating us, for sustaining us. Shnia is Birkas Haaretz, that we thank the Eibishter for the land, and the third is Boini Yerushalayim, specifically for Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash. As we'll soon see, this was instituted by David HaMelech and Shlomo HaMelech by the Beis Hamikdash. And the Revi'is came later, is the bracha of Hatoiv HaMeitiv. And he describes the Shtalshalos, who is instituted them. Bracha Rishayna, Rabbi Moshe Rabbeinu Tikna. Moshe Rabbeinu established the bracha of Hazan, I think it was by the Mon. And when the Eibishter satiated, the Eibishter gave us sustenance, gave us food in the midbar. Shnia, taking Yeshua. Yeshua was metakin when we came into Eretz Yisrael. Birkas Haaretz, thank you the Eibishter for giving us the land. And Shlish is the third bracha, Tikin David, Shlomo B'nai David HaMelech and Shlomo HaMelech when he gave us the Beis Hamikdash. And Revi is the fourth one, Chachmei Mishnah Tiknu. They were attacking it when Haruge Beitar, those killed by the uprising, the Bar Kokhba uprising by second Beis Hamikdash, Haruge Beitar were given lekvura, and it's a toiv meitiv. One is that they were given over, and the second lekvura, and the second was the shlo yisrichu, they didn't decay. Special city, as the Gemara describes. So then they instituted the bracha toiv meitiv. Now hapoilim, one of the nafkaminas between the first three brachas to the fourth bracha, which came later on, as Rambam said, Chachmei Mishnah Tiknu, is in its obligation. Because if you remember, by Shemon Esrei, there are two levels of workers. There are workers that are paid by the hour. Workers that are paid by the hour, they can't just take time that they're paid for and use it for extras. And therefore, what's biblical is definitely included in the contract, the Yidden. But the fourth bracha, we'll see, not necessarily. As opposed to those that were like live-ins, they would work sort of like a koilo. You work for the person that you work for the balbas, the owner, and he gives you food, he gives you living space. In that case, it wasn't by the hour, and they were able to on the clock of the boss. So let's see it inside. It's the workers that are clocking in hours and working by a homeowner. They ate bread, in which he has to give them time to eat, but which is not the Raisa. We don't make the bracha before, which is the Rabbanon, as we said, because only Minatayra is afterwards. They only make two brachas, and as we'll see, the second bracha includes also the third bracha, because those are Minatayra. This is all in order that they don't waste on the cheshbon of the Baal Bais. The first bracha they say as regular. Shnia, they begin with the beginning of the second bracha, which is we're praising you, we're thanking you for the land. The koil Boini Yerushalayim, and it includes within it, he starts saying Boini Yerushalayim because again they're slightly similar, they overlap. This is for the land of Eretz Yisrael. This is for giving us Yerushalayim as the capital and giving us the Beis Hamikdash. The Chosim Birkas Haaretz, he concludes with the conclusion and the ending of the second bracha. However, if they work to get their seuda, or another option, the owner, the boss, is sitting together with them, hence he grants them, let's sit them for bring. So he's not being makbid on the time, then they do need to make varchan arba brachas ketikunon kishar kol adam. They have to make the full four brachas as anyone else would. Now, Birkas Haaretz, when we are referring to the bracha over the land, which is the second bracha, Noidelecha, Haaretz, so in the second bracha, says the Rambam, so we have to increase in the praise, and you have to say the lashon of hidoyah, of thanks and praise, at the beginning and end. So we start with Noidelcha, which is obviously Hoydayam, like Moida, we thank, and we end in one second. We start the last clause again with and we conclude Al Aretz V'Al. So twice we say this, as the Rambam describes, and he concludes Al Aretz, the land, and V'Al. If you have not said the words Eretz, a land, a wanted land, a prized land, good and broad, extensive land, you have not fulfilled your obligation. 2 points. First of all, the Alter Rebbe uses a lashon in Shulchan Aruch that the first 3 brachas are min haTorah. Kedai to note that. And the Alter Rebbe, I think, uses a lashon that you have to start. You start again the bracha. Bris v'Torah. You have to mention bris and Torah, and a lahaktim bris l'Torah. You first have to say bris and then Torah. Why? When we referring to a bris, a covenant that the Eibushter has made with us, we're not referring to the bris milah that we have in our flesh. Rather, referring to we're referring to bris milah. We're referring to the bris milah, the covenant in our flesh. And the sholosh bris, and the Torah, the entire Torah, only has 3 times the expression covenant. So Torah, so to speak, comes after the bris milah, which we have much stronger the lashon bris. And Amar el divrei bris milvad the bris asher kasav itam b'chayre v'atam nitzal ma'avracha b'bris. The Rama brings the examples of the 3 times that there's, so to speak, the expression of bris in regards to Torah, being that there are much more expressions of shloishes or brisas that the Eibushter, so to speak, entered in a covenant with us around the bris that we do in our basar. Therefore, that's said first. It's important to note that the Rambam has machlokes with the Rosh whether you need to say the word bris and Torah. I should say the words bris Torah, and the Rambam, you'll see in his nusach, it like looks gehacked in the middle. The Rosh holds that it doesn't need to be mentioned mamish in that way, and that's how we do it. Right? Noidelcha Hashem al shem chatel of saying eretz chem the toiver chava, as the Rambam passed earlier, and then as done meretz mitzrayim beis avadim val bris chashach samdu b'v'sareinu, for the bris, the covenant that you've so to speak put a signet in our flesh, val Torah chash limadatanu val chach shadatanu, for the Torah that you taught us and your statutes that you've notified us, val chaim b'chaz shchanatanu. So we do it like the Shita Sarash, as the Ramah Paskins. Zok the Rambam Baite Halacha Dal. Bracha Shlishis, the third bracha, which, as we said, concludes Boine Barachim of Yerushalayim. Amen. It's a bracha specifically on Yerushalayim. It starts with Zok the Rambam Bracha Shlishis Pasech Barachim Hashem Lakeinu Aleinu. By Yisrael Mecha, please have compassion over us, have mercy over us. For Yisrael, your nation, or you start Nachmenu, console us, one of the 2. That means either have mercy or have compassion, but that's the context. The Chosim Boine Yerushalayim, either you conclude Boine Yerushalayim, the one that's going to rebuild Yerushalayim, or Menachem Am Yisrael ben Yerushalayim, or the one that will console his nation through rebuilding Yerushalayim. Now, Ulefichach, for this reason, being that it's possible to start and be consolation. About this, the Alter Rebbe says, if you haven't mentioned Malchus Beis David, which is the kingdom, and the reign that the Eibushter instituted, so if you didn't mention Malchus Beis David, you have not fulfilled your obligation of this bracha of Yerushalayim, and you have to repeat this bracha. Now, that's the whole concept of this bracha, is not just for the land that you said in the second bracha. It's for the rule and the capital, etc. in Yerushalayim. And because we don't have complete consolation, rather Elaba when Malchus Beis David is reinstated. Now, on Shabbos, you begin with Nechama and end in Nechama again, and Kedushas Hayom be'emtza. So you start as whatever you would start throughout the week. We don't start, and with Nechama we do the other option the Rambam gave, which is Rachim, and Boini Baracham with Racham at the beginning, Boini Baracham Racham at the end. So the kids start and end the way you did. And over here you include Shabbos. Ketzad. How do you say it? So he gives us the nosach. You console us, the Eibishter, with Zion, your city. Or the other nosach, which is our nosach. Rachem Hashem Elokeinu. Have compassion, the Eibishter, our God. Yisrael, your nation. Your city. O Messiah Menachem Am Yisrael ben Yerushalayim. Either you finish with Nechama, the one that consoles his nation through rebuilding Yerushalayim, the one that rebuilds Yerushalayim. Now, the Omer be'emtza b'Shabbos, what do you say in Shabbos in the middle? And we'll soon point out what you say in Rosh Chodesh. You say, God and the God of our fathers. You should want us, so to speak, and accept us, save us. Through your generally your commandments, and with the commandment of the seventh day, this great and holy day in which we find ourselves. This is a great and holy day before you. We're going to rest in it, and we'll relax. Out of love, we say ba'ava because I think Shabbos was given b'mara before Kafalem Har Kegigis. And with your will, in your will, you should give us. Let us rest. There should not be any oppression and bad, negative, and worries and krechten on the day of our resting. That's the nusach of Shabbos. And then you go back. Now, this is the bracha in which you make the Yala B'Yavai bracha. You say Yala B'Yavai V'Yagia. The Eibishter should come up in Kivyachol, the Eibishter's memory, our remembrance. V'chein b'Rosh Chadashim Chol Shemayim bracha shlishi is the middle of this bracha Yala B'Yavai. Now I want to take you back to something we discussed when we were learning the halachas of Shemoneh Esrei. Over there we discussed that the Yala V'Yavai is said in the bracha of Ritzei. Why? Because that's called the bracha of Avodah. Because these days, Shabbos and Yom Tif, there was a special carbon, and therefore, when we're talking about the Beis Hamikdash, that's where we plug in Shabbos and Yom Tif, as opposed to the Yom Tovim, where there was no unique carbon because it came later. It was instituted by the Rabbanan much later, and therefore there's no unique carbon. So like Chanukah and Purim. So we mention it in Hoida'ah, in the bracha of thanks, which is after Moedim, we say Baal Nisan, Baal Purkan, whether it's be May Mordechai Esther, May Chanukah, right? This same, now we're going to apply to Birkas Hamazon. The dates in which there was a unique carbon, the plug-in is in the third bracha, which is the bracha about Bnei Yerushalayim, rebuilding Yerushalayim. So there we say the Yal B'Yavai for Rosh Chodesh and Ritzei for Shabbos, as opposed to Chanukah and Purim, in which there is no unique carbon, and therefore we're going to include the plug-in for that and the insert for Chanukah and Purim in the bracha of Haidah, similar to Shemoneh Esrei. However, over here, the bracha of Haidah is the second bracha, Noidilcha. So that's where we're going to say Al Nisim. Now, Halacha Vav. V'Chanukah Purim Ma'aseh Be'emtza Birkas Ha'aretz. In the middle of the bracha of the Aretz, we say Al Nisim. We praise the Eibishter for the miracles. K'derech Shema'aseh B'Tefillah, in the same nusach that you add in davening. V'Yom Tif or Rosh Chodesh Shechol Yis B'Shabbos. If they both come together, Yom Tif and Rosh Chodesh. So Masker Ritzei, and then afterwards Yala B'Yavai. First you say Shabbos, which is Mekacha B'Kaima, which is Kavua, much more often, and then Yala B'Yavai for Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh Tevis Shechal Yis B'Shabbos. In which case you have all three. You have Masker Al Nisim Birkas Ha'aretz. You say Al Nisim first bracha and the second bracha, or Ritzei V'Chaseinu and Yala B'Yavai Ben in the bracha of Rachim. Now, the Alter Rebbe says if a person swapped the order and he said first Ritzei, and at first he said Yal B'Yavai, and then Ritzei, he's still Yotze. Halacha Vav. Zayin. Bracha Revi'is, the fourth bracha, which we began, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam malkeinu avinu malkeinu adirenu bareinu hatoiv ha'meitiv. That's the way we refer to this bracha. So, tzarich lahaske ba sholish malchiyos. You have to mention 3 times the words melech, referring to the Eibishter. When you're a guest in someone else's house, So Ma'aseh Bracha Balbais, you add an additional bracha blessing the host. Oimer Ketzad, how do you say it? How so? Oimer Yiratzin, may it be the Abish's will. Shlo Yevish Balbais is that Balbais Boil Mazet. May the homeowner of this house not be embarrassed in this world. May not be embarrassed, ashamed in the world to come. It means also in spiritual sense. Yes, because he can add and stretch and discuss and bless the homeowner, his host, as much as he could. Now, right? Just to point out, the 3 times we say Melech, right? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Hakel Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Hashem Kadosh Yaakov, HaMelech HaTov HaMeitiv Lakol. 3 times supposed to mention Melech. Now, Halacha Ches. But when you're blessing in the house of a mourning, so Oimer bebracha Rabis, you say HaMelech HaChai HaTov HaMeitiv, and you add Kel Emes. He's a true God. Dayan Emes, a true judge. Shofet B'Tzedek. He gives verdict and he passes judgment rightfully and righteously. Shalad by Lamai, the one that controls this world, lasses by Kirtzayim, to do as he sees fit. Shanachno Amai Ba'avadav, we are his nation and his servants. Ba'kol Nachno Chayav L'Hoydisla, and for all Toiv and what's seemingly better, L'Hoydisla, we have to praise him, L'Varcha, and to bless him. And we add and we ask for consolement for the mourner. The Eibush should console and Fishim Mashiyit, he can add in his own Nosach L'Goyman Rachman Chulu. First, the Eibush has the compassionate, etc. Now, the Beis Chasanim, there's another plug-in, and here we're going to refer to Sheva Brachas. Beis Chasanim, Mevarchim Birkas Chasanim Achar Brachas Arba Brachas. When you conclude the 4 brachas, the last one as well, right when you conclude it, there's Harachmans, and this Harachman is what we do for a bris milah, and we do Sheva Brachas. That's the place when you conclude these 4 brachas. What do you say? Every one of the 7 sudas. This is not to be blessed by slaves or by young children. To what extent? How many days can you still bless and rejoice and extend the festivities? If it was a widower that married a widow, you only bench it on the first day. It's not Sheva Brachas. There's one that you do it. If it's the husband is the first time he's marrying, but he's marrying an almana, or the other way around. The almoin, he's already married, but he's marrying a psula. Throughout the 7 celebration days. Now, he says be'etzem. Now the Rambam is going to introduce his shita that you only bench the last one, the bracha achrita. You only do that. You only do the last bracha unless you have a panim chadashis. Okay, so bracha generally the only bracha you make is the last bracha. When the people eating by this seuda because they were standing when they heard under the chuppah this bracha. If they're new people that they did not hear the bracha after the Seudah, they'll make all Sheva Brachas exactly in the same way that they did after the wedding, or under the chuppah. Providing that there are 10, and the Chasan is part of the minyan. It's interesting to note the Rambam uses a lashon if they're different, eat those that join now, and in the plural. And the Rambam in a letter is clear that he holds there should be more than one panim chadashis. We know that's why we always look for a panim chadashis. And Shabbos is a panim chadashis, as we know. Halacha Yud Aleph. You don't need a panim chadashis on Shabbos. The Eloin Sheva Brachas, says the Rambam. What are the 7 blessings that we bless the Eibishter? Which are B'chlal. It's very interesting. The brachas we make under the chuppah are seemingly not so connected to a wedding per se, besides Birkas Eiderson. And Asher Asalanus Arusas, Yitilanus Anasuis Lana. But the Sheva Brachas, most of them are about the fact that Yoitzer Adam. The Eibishter creates man, and this is his shleimus when he's married. See it inside. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Melech, blessed are you, the Eibishter, the King of the universe. Yoitzer Ha'adam, the one that formed man. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Melech Shahakal Baruch Hoide, that the Eibishter created the entire world for his honor. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Melech Shi'atzal Adam Mitzalma, the Eibishter created him in his image. We're thanking the Eibishter for creating us in His image. B'tzelem d'mus tabnisai, and so to speak, the Eibishter's form. V'hiskin, we know the spheres, etc. V'hiskin lo mimenu, and He, so to speak, gave us. He fixed for us the ability from Him, the noble possibility of endless children, continuum, binyan adiyad, the everlasting, as they say, edifice or foundation. Baruch Hashem Yetzer Adam, blessed are you, the Eibishter that has created man. And then we say, Sois tasis v'stagil ha'akara. Rejoice, should rejoice, the woman that was barren, when she gathers her sons to her. Enjoy Baruch Hashem Samech Tzim, and this is referring to Eretz Yisrael. The Eibishter should make Samech Tzim. You should have Eretz Yisrael rejoice by returning your sons. Samach to Samach Reim Ahovim, make merry the brothers, the friends. As you have made Adam Rishon rejoice when he was in Gan Eden in the days of old. Baruch Hashem Samech Chassan and Kal, and this is referring Reim Ahovim, referring to Chassan and Kal in this case. Note the Rambam's lashon is very interesting. Not only Reim is lashon zachar, it says Reim ha v'ahuvim, which is referring to friends. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, the Eibishter, our God, the King of the universe. Asher barasasim v'simcha. You have created the emotions of rejoicing, being merry, and you've created a chassan and kala, which from them emanate a whole bunch of other forms of joy. Gila, rina, ditza, v'ched, v'ava, v'ach, v'love, and brotherhood. Shalom Bereos, peace and camaraderie. But Meher Hashem Elokeinu, swiftly Eibishter, Yishama Bari Yehudi Yechutz Yerushalayim, should be heard in the cities of Judah and the outskirts of Yerushalayim. Kol Sasim, Kol Simcha, Kol Chasim, Kol Kala. These Kol Mitzanas, 5 koilas. Kol Mitzas Chasanim Chupasam, the sound of rejoicing of Chasanim from their chuppah, from their canopy, and Arim and Ginasam, and the youth. And from their singing, Baruch Hashem Samech Chasan and Makala, it has Chasan and Kala rejoice. Now, Shochach, now we'll get to mistakes. This is perfect, right? It's all picture perfect at the Chasan. Now we're moving on. Zakter Rambam Yud Beis. Shochach v'lo hiskir b'Shabbos b'yam tev Kedushas Hayom. He forgot to mention Ritzei or Yal B'Yalba in the third bracha. Im niskar kodim she'yas lebracha rabis. If Taka, you concluded the third bracha, you said already, B'nei Brachim of Yerushalayim, Amen. You didn't say Ritzei Yal B'Yalba, but you didn't begin Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Malchem Hakei Lavinu Malkeinu. You didn't start the next bracha, which means just for you getting Tzurah Sadaf, you finished Amen, B'nei Brachim Yerushalayim, Amen, but you didn't start Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Malchem Hakei Lavinu Malkeinu. Birkas HaTorah Meitiv. It's a whole big nusach here, and now the Rambam is going to zero in. These are alternative nuschos for plugins for Shabbos or for Rosh Chodesh or for Yom Tov that you can catch back. But once you start the next bracha, you have to start again from the beginning of Birkas Hamazon. Zok the Rambam. So, if you didn't start the bracha of Teva Meitiv b'Shabbos, Omer and Shabbos, you say Baruch Hashem Baruch Hashem. Asher Nosam Menucha L'Ama Yisrael. You've given a resting day to your nation Yisrael, La'ois, as a sign, Bris Kodesh, as a holy covenant. Baruch Hashem B'Kadosh Shabbos, blessed are you, the Eibishter that sanctifies Shabbos. Now, B'Yom Tov Omer, the plug-in bracha is Baruch Asher Nasan Yom Tov Lama Yisrael. Blessed is the one that gives great days to his nation, the Yidden, L'Sas and L'Simcha, to rejoice and to be merry. Baruch Hashem Mekadesh Yisrael Basman, the one that sanctifies Yidden. And we say this first because they establish a Beis Din, and hence they are Mekadesh that Yom Tov. So we say Mekadesh Yisrael and Basmanim, the unique times. And then you start the next bracha, the fourth bracha, and you continue. Now, if you remind yourself already after you start Birkas Hamazon, then Poisik, you stop where you are. You start from the beginning of Birkas Hamazon through Birkas Hazan. Now, Halach Yud Gimel. B'Rosh Chodashim on Rosh Chodesh. Shachach v'lo yomer Yal B'Yalba. If you forgot and did not say Yal B'Yalba. Again, if you remind yourself before Bracha Rabis, you have an option of a plug-in, which is Baruch Asher Nasan Rosh Chodashim L'Am Yisrael. Zikar, blessed is the one that gives beginnings of months for his nation Yisrael as a remembrance. But it doesn't have its own Baruch Hashem Mekadesh Yisrael Bazman. We don't do that. And you continue on the fourth bracha. In that point, you don't go back, and the reason is, as I explained earlier. When I think we spoke about this once. When there's a choiva seuda, so then you have to repeat. Similar to Shemana Esrei. Oh, that's where we discussed it. if you forgot in Shachris or Mincha, you forgot Yalav Yavoy, because there's a carbon on that day, you repeat. Masha'inkin Valanissim. No, that's not the reason. Because in a time of a Su'udah, that when there's a Chi of Su'udah, like when there's a Chi of Su'udah, scratch that, the kids because when there's a Chi of Su'udah, for sure you have to repeat. That's the Nakuda. So when there's a Chi of Su'udah like Shabbos, Yom Tif, if you forgot, you for sure have to say again Birkas Hamazon. I think they instituted it also by Yal B'Yavai. But be'etzem, it's when there's a Chi of Su'udah. When there's no Chi of Su'udah, like Chanukah and Purim, no Chi of Su'udah. So if you missed you missed Al Nissim, you don't have to say again Birkas Hamazon. So now be'im niska achash yischel bracha revi'is goyim reis abein achayz. If you didn't say Yal V'Yava in the fourth bracha, you do not need to repeat again. Birkas Hamazon, you just conclude. Why? Because there's no Chi of Suda mitzad Rosh Chodesh, as opposed to Shemona Esrei. There's a carbon, and therefore you do have to repeat. V'chein b'chodesh Moed u'Chanukah Purim. Then in these days there's no Chi of Suda. Shachav lehizker inyan Birkas Hamazon ein chayzer. If you forgot, you don't have to repeat. Now halacha yudal, the final halacha for today. Misha achal v'shachach v'loy birach. He ate and he pasha forgot. He moved on with life and didn't make a Birkas Hamazon. Till when can he turn around and thank the Eibishter, because he's still appreciating physically from that meal that he ate? So even before it's left his digestion system, before it's fully processed and into the bloodstream, he feels it, he feels satiated, he didn't become hungry again, and he can make that bracha. If it was already processed, and the way you would know is you're already hungry again, your body is asking for more, you did not make the bracha again. The time frame is 70 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. Now, because it's Savik Deraisa, it's L'chumra. So if you have a Savik, if you benched, you have to make again the bracha. But again, this is providing that you still feel full. And again, if you don't remember the entire time frame, you could rely clearly on the fact that you still feel full, that you can make the Birkas Hamazon. And we have concluded the Perek of today, Perek Beis. Thank you so very much for being with us. Looking forward to tomorrow's Perek Gimel. Thank you so much for being part of our very special Chabura, cruising through Kol Torah Kol, the entire Torah Shabbat with the Rambam in our lead, one Perek a day. Thank you again to our tech team led by Reb Levi Nimravsky. Have a great day.